Hello.
Meist schon nach Hause gegangen.
Schaut so. Ja, vielleicht kommen wir auch noch welche. So ist es ja nicht, dass du noch Zeit ein bisschen.
Busy.
Nicht so die Nerven nicht wegschmeißen. Die meisten kommen ja wenig spät an.
Na, schauen wir mal. Sagen wir mal die Zeit dran. Ja?
So, welcome to the last day of the day. And first, a very big thank you for coming here and joining the time with me. So, passt? Okay. I'm Stan Hanke and I work for the AIT, the Austrian Institute of Technology. It's Austria's biggest auto university research center. And I also work as a scientist in the University of Geneva in Switzerland. And today I want to talk about the projects we do and how they are related to Internet of Things. Yesterday I googled in Internet of Things what you find in internet for pictures, and actually I found also this, that Internet of Things is, or three basic components there are sensors and also actors, the connectivity of these sensors and actors, and of course people and processes. And I think we are making a lot of projects in this area where I so far not really considered the term Internet of Things. Actually, the term which is used in the European Commission since the last years is this one, AAL. You have heard it in two talks before about the IBM guy talking about the smart home. And actually, it's about ambient assisted living. And this is a huge research program since the last years, also funded on a national, international level, because there's a big demand to find solutions here, and the demand are coming from the tsunami of aging, like the US people are saying to this. And it's about providing services for elderly people to keep them more longer and more confident in their own environments, and to also to enhance their security of life and their quality of life. The topics in this AAL area are more or less in these bubbles that you see here. There are, of course, the fields which play a role in the home, which home care and supply of goods and safety security issues, but also in the surrounding, like mobility and health and wellness is a field. You know this e-health term. It's also, of course, coming to this field. Working life is also an issue to support the elderly people in a work environment and keep them more active and also productive longer there. At the IIT, we focused in this big field of AAL, which you can imagine there are coming many fields together there. We are focusing on actually these three patterns more or less. The first is the behavior pattern analysis. I will give you some examples later. Of course, the platform issue, how to make this modular, extendable, interoperable, also secure, and so that you don't have these single home solutions like if you build, like the guy in the talk before, if you build your system in your house, it of course is so easily to transfer to other houses, and this is of course a big idea that you can rebuild these things very often and also use the same services and components in a broad manner. I found also this picture about Internet of Things or smart house or ambient assisted living, about all these gadgets talking to you, and of course a big intelligence also behind. What we did so far, for instance, near Vienna, there's the Blaue Lagune. This is for houses, for demonstration houses near the shopping city. We equipped some years ago in a project with the house builder Elk and also Eaton, a house with 160 sensors. And what was the aim there? And also did the software with a touch panel where you could see how much activities in different rooms. And the idea is more to here on the energy efficiency side. So the house by itself knows when you leave the house normally and adjust heating to it and optimize these things, right? Or maybe in the rooms where you don't need heating because the kids coming late from school. So the sensors we use so far are the classical sensors you found in every market and in Austria and also, of course, other countries. But, of course, like always, the intelligence or the service, actually, the benefit comes if you bring them together. We developed an open source OSGI framework, which is called Homer, which you can also try to use, and is open source on the internet, and collect this data through a database and make up different scenarios, like I said, and have also an interface to adjust the settings and so on. So coming to so for what we use the data, one thing is this pattern recognition, like I said, and with this Homer platform you can build up different activities of daily living, how it's called in the correct term, the ADL, based on these small sensors. And if you apply some algorithms to this, you can create different scenarios like you see here. You see the activity, or when rooms or when the people are present. We have services, reminder calendars, which of course not bound to the sensors itself. Then you see especially for elderly people, it's important how many times they get up at night or when they get up in the morning. Or also the falling detection is a big issue here, to see if the person goes to the bathroom but doesn't come out for 3 hours or 4 hours, so you see something maybe happened there. Then the thing of forgetting to closing doors, leaving doors open, closing or shutting down the oven, and all these issues. And these issues are from the sensory part and also from the algorithms to a certain extent. You can very easily start with very low-level services. There was one European project we worked on, which was called Badmont, funded also by the Austrian funding agency. And here the question was, based on this sensory data I showed you before, I explained to you before, in the long term, can we see if there is some changing in the person's behavior? For instance, if we see in 1 year or 2 year scope that the person is cooking much more less, is going much less outside, is sitting very inactive for longer times on the couch, for instance, does it have any implication? And should we do there something or check there something? At the end, the AIL space, which is often mentioned, is like the Internet of Things, but in the home environment. So the AIL space, in the AIL space we have sensor, software and hardware components, and services, AIL services are performed in this AIL space, right? The AIL space itself, based on the sensors and so on, gives the context for reasoning, personalization, and context awareness, so providing the context which is needed for the services. And of course, the AIL space has different profiles or boundaries. So you can consider one AIL space is the home environment, another space is, for instance, the car, another space is the shopping environment. So if you go as a person to these different environments, you change the intelligent spaces, so to say. And like I said, and the artifacts in this space are software components which are used for sensing, reasoning, acting, communication, and the connected devices. To enable or to create such a space, for instance, there was this big universal European project also. We worked, how can we enable this AIL space? And the basic idea here was to have smart middleware, so to say, software components which are distributed on every device in your home. So if you have at the end many intelligent nodes in the space which providing the intelligence. The difference here is so far, or in some years ago, we had the personal computer, right? The intelligence was in one device. And in future, the intelligence will be shared by many devices. Can be so far the mobile phone or tablet, later maybe the fridge, the microwave. If you make them intelligent nodes based on the middleware and of course the native system layer which has the device on its own, you can let them communicate. Some people will say what you do with the existing devices like Zigbee, sensor networks and so on. Then you see in the lower level of this picture that you have also for this, you can integrate in the intelligent node, so to say, a software component which is the hub for the Zigbee network. So in this way you can extend your AIL space. So from a futuristic point of view, in this Universal project, we went in this direction. Like I said, your application or your service you download is not on one device, like on the mobile phone now. It has different components in this AIL space on different devices, depending on which service you want to realize. So far, as I said, you only have it on the mobile phone, your Android device. Maybe in future you have a component of the same software on the mobile phone and on the fridge and on the hi-fi music thing. Of course, so far we have only some devices which allow this. The fridge, for instance, is not possible at the moment, but there is Siemens software, HGI, and so on, where you can maybe in future go in this direction. And how does it work at the end? If you have the elderly person at home with his devices connected, you can browse in the App Store for a certain device, the AIL application, and then multi-part components of the application are distributed on the devices I said. The business case in the Universal project we had in this stage was the whole service chain of all these things. You have the AL space, which is the house. You have the developer side, because a lot of things of development and creativity happening in student universities or on a small company level. And the idea is here to have a certain developer community which is developing for a standardized platform which is running in the AL space. And then you have the online shop where the elderly can retrieve the applications. So the developer has a good idea in open source manner, even is a good advantage here, providing applications or ideas, software applications. As soon as a company sees something interesting there, takes out a certain version of this application, binds it, the so-called service provider, binds it often with hardware is the case, right, with blood pressure meter or so on, and even sometimes with personal resources, the nurse, and providing these things together, the human, the hardware, and the software as the service with a contract and reliability and all these things to the elderly person. Actually, this universal project, which finished 2 years ago, is now under the name Real, deployed in Europe in 7,000 flats in different countries together with these 3 components. The operational support, meaning the platform, an interoperable open source platform. Developer community support with tools and guidelines and a depot of different projects and resources. And also the market support, a use store with example services and also training material how to develop an application for this platform. So I talked a lot about services so far, and so I wanted to also quickly name what can be such services. You have seen already some. So normally you have the different categories: care and wellness, guidance, education, and the services can be, of course, safety things, basic household things, and shopping assistant. As I said, all this baggage of alarms, reminder to take medications, or to just an agenda to remind your son is coming in the afternoon for cake. You have prepared some coffee or kind of these things. Also some guidance for more physical active living, to support, to motivate them to walk more, kind of these things. And also games and social activities, social community, to do things with other people in the residential care. And to quickly go through some projects, another European project running currently is the Relaxed Care project. Here's the idea, like you see in the picture, that you have, based on all these sensors in the home, you create just a feeling how the person is, like for instance in this case green, and the son has a device or has such a cube in his living lab, and he sees just what the feeling of the mother is. The point is here that the things are not black and white. So if there is something happening which is not an emergency, so it's not a fall, but she's inactive for a long time today, it's maybe not a need to go there immediately, but if the cube turns red, he sees he should stop by soon, so you can a bit variance these things anymore, a bit more. Projects we have also working in are dealing with avatars and virtual agents. It goes a bit further. In this idea, you give the AL space a virtual identity, so to say, even in the case to a certain behavior. So there is the system is learning. It goes in dialogue with you and understands your habits and reflects these things. And so this comes with these things of intelligent systems, right? And this is also quite interesting. The system gets a memory and all these things, also emotions are reflected. So if you're not taking your medication the 3rd time, the system gets itself angry, and then it shows through the avatar and all these things. The project here, which is currently running, is the Miraculous Life project. It's also from the European Commission. And like I said, you see the clock. The system also, through Kinects, recognizes the emotion of the elderly. And then there's a dialogue, and the avatar gives, so to say, the system personality. Of course, robots are a big European thing in the moment, also in this domain. So we are working in projects to integrate 2 robots. You see here 2 projects and also 2 robots we are working with. So some of the services I presented are performed by a robot. And the difference is here, of course, you have the smart house, but there are maybe some services where the robot can help better. For instance, the interaction with the smart house. If the robot is near to you and you can interact with him directly, it's much better than you have to interact with the house where you have to touch maybe in the kitchen and not in the place where you are at the moment. Or when a call comes in, the robot comes to you and you talk with Skype with someone. And so there are some things where the robot can help better. And also we are working on user interaction, user interfaces, because the issue is here that of course every person has different demands on the interface, starting with the color, with the size of the letters and so on. And here the idea is that you get profiles of your abilities for the user interfaces, and whatever device you use, the mobile phone or the touch, or even in these concepts in the outside world, when you buy tickets on the railway encounters, the interface is adapting to your needs and what you prefer, the colors and the size of the letters and so on. And of course there are also many other ways of interaction which are not only touching. You can use these touch screens you see here, or also these touch tables you see there. And NFC, of course, is an issue to open doors, or to, like this rabbit which is reading the medications and how much you have to take in case you forget these. And all these things we also applying in Austria actually. We are, I don't know if you're aware of this, the funding agency in Austria, the last 3 years already, they are funding these so-called test regions, they call them, where you have to apply 50 houses in a region in Austria. And so far, as it runs 3 years now, there have been 2 test regions funded so far, and or no, 3, sorry, and in 2 of them we are a consortium partner. So one is the very first one, it's called Leichter Wohnen. It was, the technical term was modular, and it's in Burgenland with the Arbeiter-Samariter-Bund. And the other one is called Westtal, and like you see on the map, a lot of institutions in the west side of Austria are involved, and there we're also implementing these solutions I showed you to a certain extent, and all this in like 50 flats. And that's actually what I wanted to say for today. I hope it was worth to stay a bit, and I gave you some insight in the work we do and in the projects. And I would answer some questions, and otherwise, thank you very much. From the Universal project, everything is open source. You can see on the homepage there's the developer depot, and there's a wiki where the community is working, and all the services all the components are open source. The components are the platform, of course, itself, and also some example services. I mean, I should not hide that there is, of course, if you go in this direction, which is ethically, I think, a good idea to scale it up in Europe, and I think the European Commission thinks the same, because the European Commission has the problem that in the last years they fund a lot of these platform projects, and after the project stops, they sleep. So this community is very important. But of course, it's not a secret that companies like T-Mobile and so on, they have a big interest to bring their own platform to the market, which is commercial, because then you are bound to this platform, right? So if you want to join this open source community in a way, then you are, of course, very invited. Well, so far we don't have problems in all our projects to find elderly people who want to participate. This has many reasons, of course. Many elderly are in a way also bored, and they are curious to try things out and to work with us. So this works very well, actually. And another point which is important to mention, of course, I mean, with these things we are in a research state more or less. So we are should think also of the generation which I am in, And we are much more keen to tablets and robots even. So when we are on this age, we can, we can more easily accept it. But yeah, I mean, of course, there are also some which don't like to use it, but so far there are also a lot of people who likes it. Yeah. Normally in these projects we are involved with caregivers, which are anyway working there, and they explain these things to them, and they try it out. Of course, for the most months they guide them how to use this, and there are also some results, maybe of simple technologies which are used on daily basis. Meanwhile, one of these outcomes was also software there in a residential house in the Netherlands. They could subscribe to different activities and invite different persons over their tablet. And this is used immensely at the moment. It's a commercial product, and this residential care organization bought that for all their houses in the Netherlands, and they use it in a broad term. And I've heard even that new friendships start with this. So. Some more questions? So thank you, and have a good way home, and thanks again for staying.